WYMT Mountain News Weekend Edition.
Good evening, I'm Macy Marie. Tonight we continue following a murder that happened in Perry County this morning. A man who is the main suspect in a Perry County murder at the Bobby Davis Park is still on the run. Now, police say this man, Anthony Lewis, stopped at a local homeless shelter with blood on his clothes, and he had been out with a 37-year-old Marlena Holland, who was found dead. Holland had been beaten to death. Lewis's whereabouts are not known. Multiple law enforcement agencies are continuing to search the county.
They give us this general area of where to look. At that time, several officers from the department started doing a search of the Bobby Davis Park, and they was able to locate the victim, a 37-year-old female who had apparently been beaten to death.
Lewis was last seen at the Hope House in Hazard around 6 o'clock this morning. He's a Leslie County native, and if you see him, you're asked to call police. That number's on your screen. It's 606-436-2222. That's the Hazard Police Department. And we're learning much more about Lewis's criminal history. He has a previous record. We've learned Lewis was previously convicted in the kidnapping and victim death in 1995. That crime happened in December of '92. He and another man who you see here on camera, James Smith, was accused of robbing, kidnapping, and killing Randall Bentley. Now, during that trial, Lewis was already serving time in an Eddyville prison. Records show he faced multiple robbery offenses. And some people are collecting donations for the victim's family. If you would like to donate to Holland's funeral, you can stop by Hazard City Hall and go to the front desk. The man charged after the remains of a missing Richmond woman were found is due in court tomorrow. David Sparks is charged with abuse of a corpse and tampering with physical evidence. He pleaded not guilty during arraignment on Thursday. Investigators say Savannah Spurlock's body was found at a Garrard County home owned by Sparks' family. Police say they were called there Wednesday night after the owner discovered a foul smell. Spurlock's remains were dug up later on that night, and despite an arrest, Spurlock's family says they're still collecting tips. Tip boxes put up last month are still an area for anyone to drop off more information. And an update to a golden alert we told you about tonight at 6. Pulaski County deputies say they found Bobby Woods this afternoon, but he did fall down a 60-foot bluff behind a neighbor's house. Woods went missing around 5 this morning from his home on Cliffside Drive. He was flown to the hospital to be treated for his injuries. He's 79 years old. Researchers at the University of Kentucky say in a new study where you live could affect your mental health. Researchers say factors like unemployment and access to health care are reasons why rural areas have a higher rate of suicide. The researchers at UK worked with data from the National Survey on Drug Use and Health to look at trends in suicide, planning, and attempts. The mental health care needs to change to lower the numbers.
There are fewer mental health care providers, such as psychiatrists, social workers, psychologists.
Although the national study focused on suicide, it points to another problem here in Kentucky, the opioid epidemic. Researchers say addiction is part of mental health, and suicide is the 11th leading cause of death in the state of Kentucky. The Commonwealth of Virginia will receive part of a more than $1 billion opioid settlement that's following an investigation into the marketing of an anti-addiction drug. The U.S. Department of Justice says the company Endeavor tried to increase Suboxone film prescriptions by deceiving healthcare providers into believing the drug was safer than other opioid addiction treatments. A federal grand jury in Abingdon, Virginia indicted the company in April of 2019. Cleaning up Jenny Wiley State Park is not easy, but one group has made it their mission. Friends of Jenny Wiley work year-round to make sure visitors are safe. WYMT's Marianne Fletcher tagged along this morning to learn why they work hard, all for free.
Keeping a park clean is not easy, especially when it is 1,200 acres of beautiful terrain and 1,100 acres of lake views.
We feel like Jenny Wiley State Park is one of the nicest places in eastern Kentucky.
Friends of Jenny Wiley would like to keep it that way.
What we're trying to do is enhance the park.
Jim Stewart is the vice president of the nonprofit organization.
We're lucky in eastern Kentucky to have a park like this. It's unbelievable how cool it is.
Sunday morning, members made it their mission to tidy up the trails,
Those make sure they're clean, easy, and there's no problems.
And install new garbage cans.
Hopefully, that way there'll be less garbage thrown down.
Group President Brittany Branham says organizations like this are vital to the park.
I think it's very important. It kind of gives people a sense of community, a sense of stewardship.
But even with 75 members, they still have more room for volunteers on their team.
You're more than welcome to come help the Friends of Jenny Wiley anytime you want.
Keeping the trails clean in Floyd County. Marion Fletcher, WYMT Mountain News.
Now, that group also cleans the lake by boat. Friends of Jenny Wiley meets on the last Wednesday of every month. If you'd like to join, you can contact the organization on their Facebook page. And tonight, the Jenny Wiley Amphitheater hosted a well-known Kentucky story. This is the opening weekend of Blood Song, the story of the Hatfields and the McCoys. The production is in its 6th season from the Hatfield and McCoy Arts Council in McCarr. Samantha West with Prestonsburg Tourism says you may recognize one actor. Prestonsburg Mayor Les Stapleton also played a role in the production.
He kept thinking about it and he said, I think I can do it. I said, I think you can too. And he's been wonderful and his whole family has been such a great support. So we're it truly is community at its core on every level, and we're very happy about that.
According to organizers, Blood Song is the official state play for the feud, and if you missed this weekend's showtimes, don't worry, you can catch the show every Friday and Sunday until the last show. That's on Tuesday, the 23rd.
Another typical summer day here in Eastern Kentucky as far as the weather was concerned. A mix of sun and clouds with a few pop-up showers. For most of us, we're dry right now, just like in downtown Whitesburg. Here's a look at the current view from our weather cam there, and you can see a quiet night unfolding for most of the region weather-wise, although there are a few thunderstorms back up to central Kentucky. Some of those west of Moorhead back over towards Mount Sterling and Winchester. Those may roll into the northwestern part of our coverage area, say from Moorhead down to Stanton. But I think for most of us, we're going to be dry tonight, and those showers should die out over the next couple hours. Mid to low 70s for most now, and with dew points running about that, we should begin to see some dense fog start to develop very shortly. And also take note, folks, dew points into the 70s, that is that tropical feel to the air. And unfortunately, it's going to stick with us for a couple more days. In the meantime, taking a look at the forecast on the WYMT weather app, we dropped down to the upper 60s overnight with mostly cloudy skies, a little bit of patchy fog out there. Back to near 80 by lunchtime, heading to the mid to upper 80s tomorrow with a few scattered storm chances, but better chances of rain arrive with the leftovers of what was Hurricane Barry a little later in the week. We'll let you know when that'll move into the mountains here in a few minutes, Macy.
All right, thank you, Shane. And federal raids to round up and deport what the White House calls undocumented criminals were threatened to begin today. The operation was to take place in at least 10 cities across the country. Jonathan Vigilotti is in Los Angeles.
They have to go out.
President Trump promised a wave of federal raids Sunday, but so far immigration sources tell CBS News they've been limited to New York City, where federal agents were seen this weekend knocking on doors. Acting Director Matthew Albence on Fox News wouldn't confirm or deny those reports.
Well, I won't speak to specifically anything that's going on in an operational perspective. The overarching concern when we conduct any sort of enforcement operation is the safety and security of both our officers that are conducting the operation as well as the public.
In a statement, ICE said they prioritize the arrests and removal of unlawfully present aliens who pose a threat to national security, public safety, and border security. But many politicians, including presidential candidate Amy Klobuchar, question the agency's and president's motive.
If you really wanted to go after security risks, and there are people who are security risks, why would you alert them and say you're doing this on a Sunday and do it 2 weekends in a row?
This weekend, protesters took to the streets from Chicago to Oakland. While large-scale deportation actions are not uncommon, the weeks-long buildup to this latest round is.
I feel like scared every day. I don't know what to do, but I know that with my community, I'm in strength.
But in Homestead, Florida, Pastor Howard Hardin said his parish, predominantly Spanish-speaking, was just as packed as it always is.
I don't sense a spirit of fear in our people. We're simply trusting in God and our lives are in his hands.
And while immigration advocacy groups say the raids will target around 2,000 undocumented migrants, they do worry that thousands of more people could be taken in as part of what they call collateral arrests. Several police departments, including here in Los Angeles, say they will refuse to assist federal agents in these operations. Jonathan Vigliotti, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Islamist extremists blew up the gate of a Somali hotel with a car bomb and took over the building for more than 14 hours, leaving 26 people dead before Somali forces took over the hotel again and killed those attackers. The victims included a prominent Canadian Somali journalist. At least 4 al-Shabaab assailants attacked the hotel Friday evening, beginning with a suicide car bomb at the entrance gate. Some scuffles broke out in Hong Kong as tens of thousands protested the government's handling of a controversial extradition bill that they want formally withdrawn. Some demonstrators threw objects at police, injuring about a dozen, but for the most part, the demonstrators were peaceful. The protests reflect mounting complaints that Hong Kong's leaders are eroding the freedoms and autonomy promised when the territory was returned to China back in 1997. A magnitude 6.5 earthquake caused minor damage in communities along Western Australia's northwest coast on Sunday. The quake's epicenter was about 124 miles from the coast. Now, people felt the ground shake there for 15 to 20 seconds. No damage or injuries were reported, and a tsunami warning was not issued. Still to come on Mountain News Weekend Edition. Flooding